Hi there. It is confirmed. We had a tornado last night roll right through. And this happened in northern Johnson County, southern Wyandotte County, and then crossed the state line into Missouri. And thankfully, it lifted before it pushed into Westport and all those people there on a Friday night. So here we're zoomed in. You can kind of get your bearing there. That's 635, that's 35. That's a very important intersection because here's the way the path took off. Northern Shawnee, probably half mile north of Johnson Drive. And then it kind of went straight east, took a little bit of a jog to the north, intersecting 635 and 35. And then it kind of went parallel right to 35. Then it kind of deviated a little bit to the east and it crossed over at about 1140, the state line. And then about 1145, it lifted right before hitting Westport. This was an EF0. So thankfully it was the smallest and the weakest of the tornadoes. It had winds of 75 miles per hour. It was on the ground for almost 8 miles over 11 minutes. That's moving about, 55 miles per hour? That's pretty fast. Thankfully, the width was only about 50 yards and most of the damage just trees. But we being me and Melissa, were on this very platform yesterday streaming because we saw this coming in, and it was a severe thunderstorm and it had gusty winds, possibly 60 miles per hour. Hail really wasn't the big thing, but we were working on that area, focusing on Bonner Springs right before the tornado warning came out. So we were on it and we were keeping an eye on it, and sure enough, as soon as that tornado warning came out, we stayed on this medium, but then we also went on TV because the sirens were blaring. We know a lot of you were probably getting woken up by those sirens and wanted to know what's going on. And a lot of you, you turn to your phone, or your severe weather, a lot of times you just turn to the TV because we're going to be on. And there we were. So thanks for trusting us to get you through that event. And here you go. You can see that darker area just kind of fall apart as it starts to head over to Missouri. So it was a quick spin up, as we talked about. It was a very weak tornado, like we talked about was possible. And it didn't stay on the ground very long. That's why you have to act quickly when these particular tornadoes, these small ones that develop on squall lines, that's why you have to have that plan ready and execute. All right, what else? We've had a lot of rain. We talked about we were going to have a lot of rain to start the week or the month of March. An average March has about 2 1/3. We're already up to almost 2 inches, and we've got another chance for wet weather on Tuesday, which could put us over the top and already above average by the time we get to the 10th or 11th of the month. So here's what I want you to know moving forward. Yeah, don't forget this. Daylight saving, it starts tonight. So for those, say, appliances, clocks that don't automatically keep up with the time and forward tonight, make sure you set them ahead an hour before you go to bed. So there's that. Okay, we're going to get used to that. And one of the ways we're going to get used to that is because we have near record warmth coming. 70s are back as soon as tomorrow. We may like that extra hour in the evening to get out there and walk the dog, work in the yard, get some exercise. I don't know, just sit on the back porch and have dinner when it is going to be sunlight out until at least 7:20 tomorrow evening. That's when the sun sets. And then our third one, the next chance for severe storms and flood. It's the first one. We've had it on here for several days. Did it get lost in the shadow of last night? Sure. But that's okay because it's still several days away. And we still have eyes on it. We're going to continue to have eyes on it. We're going to have your back just like we did last night when this gets closer and closer. So let's first talk about daylight saving. Yeah, the sun came up today at 6:42, set at 6:18. It's going to be dark tomorrow morning, no doubt about it, until 7:41. The sun comes up, but then look at that, 7:19 is when the sun sets. So for Sunday, we wake up kind of chilly, 37 degrees with sunshine. There's a little bit of a wind chill, southwest wind about 10 to 20, will make it feel like the upper 20s. And the winds will be 15 to 25, maybe a little bit faster in the afternoon. Total sunshine, 68 degrees. That is going to feel fantastic. And everywhere you look, temperatures are in the mid 30s. To even some upper 30s, about 33 to 37, which is warmer than average, which is about 31. And then it'll quickly warm. Look at that. We're in the 30s at 7 o'clock. We're in the 40s at 9 o'clock. We're in the 50s at 11 o'clock. We're in the 60s at 1 o'clock. We jumped like 10 degrees every 2 hours. And then we'll top out in the upper 60s to near 70 around 3 o'clock. And tomorrow evening, maybe a nice evening to be outside during the evening because temperatures are going to fall back into the low 60s until the sunset. So that's what I'm talking about. We can at least get out there and enjoy having to lose that hour possibly of sleep. I mean, a lot of us just sleep in an extra hour, but if you have somewhere to be, like service, work, yeah, then you can't sleep in, can you? 71 in Atchison. Looks to be the warm spot tomorrow. Most of us around 66 to 69 degrees. So we're close to 70 in most places. And it is the next 3 days that are going to be the warmest. Monday, that 77 ties a record from just 5 years ago, back in 2021. The record high for Tuesday is 84, so I don't think we'll get close to that. We could get close to 80 depending on when these storms erupt. Okay, if we have an issue like we had yesterday where we have morning storms and cloud cover, we won't get that warm. But it doesn't quite look like the same setup. This looks like we'll have a cap, a little bit of a cap that will keep us dry most of the day. Clouds will be on the increase in the afternoon when the cap breaks, and that's when we could see our first chance of storms. And then a cold front will roll through, and that'll bring us another chance of storms. So there's possibly 2 rounds. Right now it's a level 2 out of 5. Okay. Yesterday at its height was a 3 out of 5. So it gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. Atmosphere, it's going to be almost as charged, but put together a little differently than the one we dealt with yesterday because we had those morning storms. And that storm, that line of thunderstorms wasn't severe until it reached Douglas County, until it reached Lawrence. And then once it reached there, it found a pocket of energy and it increased. And that's when we had the severe thunderstorm warning, and eventually it spun, and that's when we had the tornado warning. And we had a couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings on the Missouri side. Thankfully, most of that was just wind. Haven't heard of any damage from those other severe thunderstorms. All the damage I heard from yesterday's weather was with that EF0 tornado. We had some small hail, but yeah, really, as volatile as the atmosphere was yesterday, we got away pretty clean. I know that's easy for me to say, those of you that have some of that damage, but thankfully it wasn't any worse, I guess is the best way to say it. So here we go, Tuesday. Let's just take a look. This is what our medium range models, not a high resolution model, so it's going to be big, it's going to be bulky. It's just going to give us an idea of how the day unfolds. You can see during most of the day it's pretty quiet. Clouds are increasing in the afternoon. Storms start to pop. Sounds familiar, right? Typical spring afternoon. The storms don't look too robust, at least on this model. This is the GFS right now, but there comes the next wave into Tuesday, and that's coming up from the southwest. Those are the ones we're concerned with. Those are the ones that always usually have severe weather, and then you can see the cold front pushing through. So again, this is a very bulky looking map because it's on a grid that's huge. It's actually a 25-kilometer grid. So it's more for looking at trends than it is for dialing down to exactly what we're going to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out of this. Well, actually, that was the Euro. I'm sorry. So that's on the 9-kilometer grid. Still bulky. I mean, you want to see bulky? Let me show you bulky. Here's bulky. Here's the GFS. And it does the same thing with the clouds. And see how much bigger the precipitation is. You have to really look for the darkest green or the yellow or the orange to find out, exactly where this thing thinks this may pop. That's always kind of been my way of looking at it. But when you have a huge area of green that surrounds Kansas City and goes all the way down to almost Wichita, yeah, that's what's bulky about it. So this is why the GFS is tough to pinpoint this far out. But I just wanted to show you that to give you an idea of some of the stuff we deal with. So I do not want to save that. And the couple of things we're looking at are not only the possibility of severe weather, and everything's on the table, but our ground's saturated right now. So we're looking at a flood risk. It's just a risk right now, and it's a 1 on a scale of about 1 to 4. So it's a 5%. Okay, if you want to put it in those terms. It's a 5% chance that we could have some, creek, small stream flooding. It's probably a given, just like it was yesterday. When we have heavy rain come through, we're going to have ponding on the roadways. We're going to have, some streets that kind of look like creeks, some parking lots that look like small ponds. That's a given when we have thunderstorms. This is more in the way of, will it be a little bit bigger than that? And it's possible now that we have saturated soil and some of this rain could run off into creeks and streams. So that's something we'll keep an eye on. Again, it's a 5% chance. It's a 1 out of 5. It's a very low chance. I've been keeping an eye on this, and I'm not sure that's high enough, but I'm not a pollen forecasting expert. But just by what I've seen outside, how everything got green today, I've already seen trees that are blooming. Okay, so they're putting off pollen, and when it hits 70 the next 3 days, it's gonna accelerate that. Most of the pollen out there right now is from cedar and oak, some of our earlier tree pollens. That's what we're dealing with right now. So before I get to the Security Bank 7-day forecast, I am going to take a look and see if we've got any questions, because really enjoyed last night's back and forth. During our severe weather coverage, I think Melissa and I were on for almost 2 hours, because we were on this platform well before we went on TV with a tornado warning. I really enjoyed the comments, really appreciated the comments, really appreciated you telling us what you're seeing, so we could let people know that what you're seeing, and then the people that are downstream of you where the storms are going have an idea of what to expect. So that is invaluable, and so we really appreciate that. Zachary, you promised snow, Zachary, at the end of February or early March, didn't you? Snow. If we get snow, it'll be a fluke. But it's still possible. But definitely, we're trending so warm. We had such a warm February, 5th warmest ever. March is starting off rather warm. It's going to be hard to get another snowstorm in there. And I know, Austin, you want one too. It's just not looking good right now. And so, talked about how bad the storms are going to be for Tuesday. Appreciated, Austin, you letting us know that you heard the sirens in Belton last night, and I know you took shelter. So, thanks for all those comments. So let's get to the Security Bank 7-day forecast. All right, here we go. Loaded up. 68 tomorrow. Remember, set your clocks ahead tonight. If you still have some old, I wouldn't say old, but smoke detectors that utilize 9-volt batteries, there's new ones that still do that. You might want to change them. It's always been recommended, or you can wait till it chirps and drives you crazy. Or you can change them every 6 months when we change our clocks. 50 Monday morning, heading back to work, heading back to school, not needing a heavy coat, needing a lighter coat, and not forgetting that coat, because 77 in sunshine Monday afternoon. Tuesday, all right, the 78 we know is 6 degrees shy of a record. I don't think we'll get there. But did you know that morning, that 57, that's a record warm minimum temperature. We had a record warm minimum temperature yesterday also, and I think it was about 57 or 58. All right, cold front rolls through. I think some of these storms may bleed into the morning commute, so I added that 30% for the morning. Again, with the bulkiness of these models, but I was looking at the AI models, and I was looking at the ensembles, and they're pretty bullish on rain through at least 6 a.m., maybe 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. So until that changes, might as well tell you that, hey, there's a chance that Wednesday's morning commute may be a little wet, not only from the storms that come through, the stronger severe storms, but there may be some other storms that pull behind it that are weaker, like we had last night. All right, so once we shut off that warming trend, we do see a little bit of a bounce back on Thursday to 58. Friday, the clouds, a lot of high clouds. That'll dim the sunshine enough that will top out at 64. Dry cold front coming through Friday night, and that drops us back to about 56 next Saturday. So today I think we were 51, so it'll be about 5 degrees warmer. It just won't be quite as sunny next week. But we're definitely trending warmer than average, with that warm average high being about 51. By the end of the week, it's about 53. So just every single day, except for possibly Wednesday's warmer than average. Saturday barely warmer than average. But, that's a really spring forecast, and a really warm one at that. And just going to check the comments one more time. Lindsay, she says, yes, the pollen, itchy eyes this afternoon. She gives it a big boo. That's great, Lindsay. I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know, because if you guys have watched me before, I don't suffer from allergies. I don't think so. I did as a kid. Had one of those like steroid inhalers as a kid. And when I was swimming, I actually had to declare that so people wouldn't, if I got tested, it wouldn't pop for PEDs. Isn't that crazy? But, that was back in the 90s. So anyway, I digress. Used to have them, I don't now, so I don't know how bad you're suffering. But I am very aware of that it's that time of the year, and I'll continue to put the pollen forecast out there. Again, the pollen forecast was medium, but I think it's going to be, I think you'll notice it especially Monday and Tuesday, because the winds will be a little bit faster Monday and Tuesday also. But the winds are going to be fast tomorrow. So there's not only going to be pollen in the air, there's going to be a lot of dust in the air. So there's that too. That really bothers me more than anything. Dust and dry air more so than pollen. Isn't that weird? But I will definitely notice that and be there right with you. Hopefully not suffering too badly. So thanks for stopping by. We're going to let it go there. We're kind of late tonight, 9:20. So going to go back, look at some information. And I'll see you back on the television at 10 o'clock. Have a great rest of your evening.